Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to iRacing, welcome to Spa, where we're going to skip Barbers again, because I really like this car. This is the classic pit layout, so turn 1 is Eau Rouge! And yeah, these things quite like Eau Rouge. Now I did actually slow down because I was a bit nervous about everybody else going down the Camel Straight through the little kink there. This is silly, because these cars are very kind of draft dependent. And you can see me kind of janking about and everybody else juggling themselves about to try and get the best draft they can. And yeah, it becomes a bit of mayhem. The guy ahead of me braked a bit sooner than I thought, so I did my best to avoid him, as there's a bit of a ramming going on ahead of me. I'm in the 9 car, by the way. This is a 9-lap race. These laps are just under 3 minutes long. The first lap, I think, is around about 3 minutes. Bit of a dive bomb for me there, as I just lose the back end a small bit, and oops, I caused that, really. That was 100% on me. The guy I overtook with the dive bomb and slippy slide is falling backwards. This guy now is the number 8 car. Oh my god, so much death happened behind me. Just kind of crawling up behind him now. I qualified out of position a bit. I could have set a much better lap time than I actually did, and I'm kind of annoyed by myself that I screwed up my qualifying here. This race took place a few days ago. This was my first race at Spa this week. So I'd done quite a bit of practice before this, and some of my laps were my laps were very inconsistent because I'm making a few silly mistakes still. Coming through now, Curve Paul Frere. We are through the Fagnes chicane, through Curve Paul Frere, and heading down on the run up to Blanchimont, the fastest turn on the track. Little kink before Blanchimont, turn 16, and through Blanchimont itself now. You can see that the draft is pulling me along behind this guy, and absolute mayhem is what Spa is for the most part. But once the race kind of settles into its rhythm, an all-out war erupts between me and somebody else for 4th and 5th positions, I think. So through La Source, the final turn on lap 1, and down towards the line to finish the first lap. You can see that everything's still kind of tightly packed up. First 4 are making their way along nicely. I back off a small bit coming through Eau Rouge here, just so I don't ram into the back of the 8 car. But coming along the Camel Straight now, this is one of the scariest moments of the race for me, because we're 3 wide. I passed the 8 car with the 15 car with the double draft, and he was far enough back that he didn't need to do anything. Comes past me, the 8 car kind of holds me, pinches me tight in. I wasn't gonna try and do something stupid and push him out wide. I wanted to be, I wanted to be clean racer. But I do nip in underneath him at Rivage, as it's apparently called. I thought it was called Bruxelles. And yeah, that was a terrifying moment because I didn't see the car stopped on the exit of the corner until it was very late. I did get a 0x for that, so apparently I brushed the stricken vehicle. And yes, I just completely screwed up Pouan. Like, 100% screwed it up. Which means I was running a bit slowly here. Because you run wide at Pouan, you're going to have to lift a lot more than usual. Coming through Fagnes now, you can see there's a bit of a gap ahead of me that I am going to try and just clear up and get up towards him. I'm kind of out of rhythm right now. Everything's not quite the way that I like it. because you know you go wide, you kind of get angry at yourself, and you're screwed up for maybe another 3, 4, 5 corners. You screw up a Puan, you're kind of screwed up for the rest of the lap, because that is a corner you absolutely need to get right. Coming in now to the bus stop chicane. I don't know why it's called a bus stop, because it looks nothing like a bus stop. Somebody decided to put 2 hairpins together and call it a chicane. I despise it. It's a really bad end to the F1 lap, and a really just annoying corner in general. So going through La Source once again to finish this lap. You can see that I'm actually, after holding back a bit now, through La Source, so that I can get a good run past Eau Rouge. Because I know, and pretty much everybody who's running these knows, at this point, even though it's lap 3, I want to say, that the best passing places on the entire track are the Kemmel Straight and the run into Blanchimont. Now, it might look like I made my pass awful early on the straight. I should be fine because I got the draft from the 15. The 8 has the draft from me, and yep, I am perfectly fine staying ahead of the 8. Ooh, that's an interesting line he takes. He appears to be missing the front of his nose somehow. I'm not sure if that's just weird bug glitchiness happening in this Oh no, he hit somebody. Which means that he is running slowly, and again I slip slide through Rivage, which is not the best thing to do in the world. You don't want to be slipping these things out. You want to be kind of sliding them into corners, but you don't want to be you want to be kind of kicking the back out a small bit into corners just so you get turn in. You don't actually want to slide these things. You can hear the tires complaining as it goes through Puan there. These skip barbers are very slow. I'll be blunt. They're slow, small cars. They're racing school cars. The Skip Barber Racing School is unfortunately defunct. It ran out of money and went bankrupt. So it no longer exists. But these cars are pretty robust. They're small and really good for kind of learning racecraft. A lot of people who play iRacing, and kind of having raced them now for the majority of the season, I have had to skip a few weeks due to not owning tracks. The majority of people who race these, who play iRacing and race in the higher up series, the ILMS, even the World Championship series, for the pro drivers, will say, yeah, you need to do skip barbers to learn racecraft and to learn kind of the fastest way around corners. Because these are very momentum-based cars. You can see me taking, cutting tight through some corners and kind of sacrificing time in them, because the better corner to get time out of is the one that's going to be exiting the chicane. So you'll notice me sacrificing time through the first part of that chicane every single lap, or at least on most laps, because I know for a fact that I can gain more time through the second part of the chicane. So I am up with the number 15 car now, coming up towards Eau Rouge yet again. And this is where the war begins, because this is for 4th and 5th now. And you'll see some aggressive driving, some defensive driving, some tactical driving, but nothing that's dangerous. Both myself and him were chatted after the race briefly, and we both thanked each other for very good clean racing. I passed him here, he's keeping up tight to me, I'm trying to pull away, but he's got the draft, and Spa is a very fast track still. It's not quite as fast as it used to be when it was insane. But Spa is still a very, very fast track indeed, so very easy to keep behind somebody in the draft, very difficult to pull away. You can see me just pushing and pushing and pushing. I am absolutely pushing to my limits. Basically for the remainder of the race, there are a few occasions where I intentionally lift. He does too, and There is some tactical driving more towards the end. But it's just... This is racing at its purest, you know, two slowish cars that are pretty much equal. He might be using a different setup to me, because this is an open setup, there's not a lot you can change, so he might be using a different anti-roll bar or something. Maybe a different brake bias, considering he was able to do something I just find impossible. Because I've got a very rearward brake bias, I use 52% to the front. Because I've kind of become used to the kind of kicking the rear out in entry, which is maybe a dangerous thing to get used to. But I find that the Skip Barber likes to just plow through corners if you don't have a bit of oversteer dialed into it by through the brakes, effectively. And that's why you occasionally see me just going through Ravage sideways, because that's a very difficult corner to get right. There I screwed up the chicane and, yeah, made an absolute hames of it. So he's pulled up beside me. He's actually laid off the throttle slightly so that he gets behind me for the Camel Straight. That's kind of a... You know, he knows he's going to have to go through Les Source wide. Or is he actually trying to... I can't remember. Oh, he overtook me. That was a dumb move. So, comically, you actually want to be going through the Camel Straight behind somebody. You don't want to be leading, because if you're leading through the Camel Straight, you're just punching a big old Skip Barber sized hole in the air. It's actually much larger than the Skip Barber, the hole that you punch. Whereas if you're behind somebody, you're in that hole. You're in the nice, slipstreamy, dirty air. Which, you know, is bad through corners, but on a straight, you can just drive straight past people. Like that. Of course, I stay in tight to the corner so that I don't come across and wallop him, basically. We both did similar things in that we both knew safe racing, we both knew dangerous racing. I can race dangerously if I really want to. There's another ping out at Ravage. Yep, that's totally the correct way to take that corner, is just drifting it. But you can see he's tied up behind me because he's actually getting higher top speeds than me through all of this. I'm slightly better in the corners than he is. Actually, he was a lot better through Prawn there. But the two cars are basically evenly matched because we're both taking similar lines, we're both, I would argue, similar ability, similar knowledge of racecraft, similar speed, just baseline. And the only thing that's really making a difference here is, number one, strategy, and number two, the slipstream. So, right up to Blanchimont, you'll see him closing right up to me once again as he is in the nice, beautiful, delicious slipstreamy air. The problem in the slipstream is you're going a lot faster than you're used to going through Blanchimont, so you can very easily run very wide. Now he's going to stay behind me for the bus stop, because this is where he wants to be, behind me, because he gets a nice run into well, Rouge, through Rouge and up through the Camel Straight. This is one of my stronger parts of the track as well, because I'm pretty good at La Source. I'm not the best, but I'm pretty good at La Source. You'll see me cut in really tight. I have actually clipped the inside wall on a couple of occasions. So I do get a small bit of a gap to him, but of course that's not going to matter. He's close enough, 1,000,000,000% that he's running a completely different setup to me, I've just realised. He's got weird camber going on. How did he do that? He must be running the car a lot lower than I am. Because my car looks very straight and his looks cambery. That's interesting. Because he's got no damage, that's just his setup. I kind of wish I'd asked him for it now. Um, sorry, I just noticed that his car has a lot more camera dialed into it somehow than mine. I think it's because he's running it lower. Setup by and large doesn't matter in the skip barbers. There's kind of a default setup most people use, and the most that you'll really do to it is change the brake bias a touch, for personal preference. I think I'm using just the default setup. Like, you'll change the fuel. For qualifying, I use 7 liters of fuel, which is the minimum I can put in. And for this race, I think the fuel level for the race here is 11 liters, or is that 2 gallons? I want to say it's like 2 gallons of fuel. Because yes, you can use imperial units if you so wish. So here we go through Curve Paul Frere, which is really, really fun corner if you get it right. Which I conveniently did there. And I'm going to do something incredibly stupid, which is overtake on the run up to Blanchimont. Because he ran slightly wide, I knew I could kind of get him there. So I'm leading through Blanchimont. I think we're running up near the end of the race now. Looking at the time, no we're not. We're only about halfway through. Now, 9-lap race. 9 laps isn't many laps, is it? But when you're driving on a 7-kilometer course, it's quite a distance. It's 56 kilometers, 30 miles, roughly. And with the low speed of the skip barbers, just even at top speed, they barely touch 200 kilometers an hour. Yeah, you're kind of... You've got time to think about things you've done wrong in the previous lap when you're going down the Kemmel Straight. I'll put it that way. Some people on the iRacing forums put it, yeah, you got time for a swig of beer, a swig of drink, you know, roast dinner. Cooking up a nice 5-course meal. Thinking about what you're going to wear when you go out later. Thinking about all the things you've done wrong today. Thinking about all the things you did right. And here's the number 15 passing me, heading into Le Cun. Eventually at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Which, by the way, might be boring in this video. It's just as boring to drive. Because you just got your right foot down and you're just kind of looking at the scenery pass you by for 30 odd seconds while you're just being bored. By the way, I know it's been a little while since I've done an iRacing video. That's because I haven't had like very many amazing races. This is one that I'm really, really happy with, because the number 15 here is a brilliant driver. He knows what he's doing. He knows what I'm doing. I know what he's doing. He's very predictable, very good to race against. You saw we both took different corners through Fania, or Pipaf, as it's known. It has 2 different names for some reason. I don't know why. It used to be called Pif-Paf. It's now called Fania, that little chicane. It's a fast chicane though. Like in Formula 1, it's you're going about 100 miles an hour. In the skip barbers, you're going significantly slower because skip barbers. I, for the most part, knew what to expect from this guy I was racing. He knew, for the most part, what to expect from me. He knew that I wasn't going to make some suicidal dump move up the inside. If I was going to, I would do, you know, immediately and consistently. I know that when he's in the lead, he's going to treat me with that same respect. Or when he's behind, I should say, he treats me with the same respect. You know, he'll wait until there's a very high percentage chance of him overtaking me, and he'll use that. And we're both kind of using the straights to our individual advantages. Because it just... Number one is the safest way to go around Spa. Is to just use the blatantly obvious super long straight overtake with the draft method. Instead of trying to overtake around every corner, you lose time that way. Overtaking on the straight, nobody really loses time. You actually... It's a net gain because the guy doing the overtaking is going faster. The guy being overtaken doesn't lose much speed, if any. And you just kind of slot in back in together quite nicely. So while we're racing each other, we're also kind of helping each other doing this. The downside is through the rest of the circuit, he's actually having to lift a lot more than I am. Because the draft is so strong in the skip barbers, it does actually help him a lot more than me. And he's actually actively losing time behind me. Number one, because of the dirty air. Number two, because you can see it right here. He's drafting right up behind me. And he's having to lift and lay off and just hold back. And he's losing time as a direct result because he can't carry the speed that he actually has. So he's having to lift more than he should so that he doesn't wallop into the back of me. And I obviously know this because I followed him for several laps and stuff like that, and you kind of learn the way the car is going to behave in certain circumstances. And granted, I'm not the best driver ever. In terms of iRating, for anybody interested, at the time of recording I have 1,990, so not very good. Kind of average, more or less. C 3.8-ish license. So I'm safe, considering I was rookie I was D license not too long ago, got brought up to C. I'm going to be B in the next season, and then probably B for a while actually, because I can't be bothered buying any of the B license cars, except maybe a GT3. But I don't know about that because GT3s are death. I might buy a GTE and do some ILMS or something. That'd be kind of fun. In any case, you can... I wonder, is this the second to last lap? I'm just kind of... It should be, looking at the time. I'll find out soon enough, because he does something very interesting that I wasn't expecting. He broke from his tradition of being very nice and predictable to do something very interesting on the final lap. Yes, this is the final lap. So what he's doing here confused the living daylights out of me, because I was expecting him to, as he'd done on previous laps, yeah, as the two of us had done, come up outside me or inside me, on the camel straight, and he didn't. He lifted. Why did he lift? He lifted and just tucked up behind me so that he'd save fuel. Now, option one for him doing that is fuel saving, but he's clearly got enough fuel to finish the race, and in fact the 11-litre 2-gallon fuel load is more than enough to finish the race and do an extra few laps afterwards. With what's left. So he's not trying to save fuel. Why did he do that? Why did he come up right behind me and just hold position? It's because I've previously shown that I can overtake through Blanchimont. I showed my hand too early in this race. If I didn't overtake him a few laps ago at Blanchimont, he may well have passed me on the camel and I could have pulled that Blanchimont move. Instead, what he did was he held on the camel. He held back. You can see him holding back here even, so that he gets a good run. So coming through Paul Frere now, he's starting to close up again because of the draft. And he's timed this, I think, more or less to perfection. Coming up to Blanchimont now, he's really in tight behind me again. And this scared me a bit. He did catch me unawares here, because he's up the inside of me, and under braking, he brakes later. I go wide because I don't want to wallop him. And, woo, that was close. Yeah, he just, that was the last real overtaking opportunity of the race. He got past me. I congratulated him. He beat me fair and square. That was a very aggressive move. But it was a good move. Because he didn't pull some weird line out of nowhere. He took a line. I knew what was going on. I knew what to expect. I knew that I could fall back and slide in behind him. And that's the race, really. 5th place for me. Got iRating gain. I think I gained safety rating. I didn't have too many incidents. I did have a few off tracks, which you might not have noticed, but the off tracks in Spa are ridiculous. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. As you can see, the remainder of the field kind of going through and finishing their races. Spa is a super fun track. It's not very fun in the skippies because it takes so long to do a lap and the Kemmel Straight is boring. But it's a fun track. I love it. It's one of my favorite tracks in motor racing. But that is going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave you by saying I've been RainbowDave. You've been watching some iRacing. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.